climate change and all of that. But because of what's happening in Nigeria, I'm really interested in how to, make our country better. So while I'll be talking about the environment, I would also spend a lot of time talking about things that are happening in Nigeria and the rest of Africa, like in Congo and other parts. But for today, I'll be talking about the Endsars protest with Emmanuel Okonkwo. Emmanuel Okonkwo is a pastor. And in his younger years, he said he had done some activism, in his days in the university. So I'll start by asking you, what do you think about what has been going on the past few weeks in Nigeria when it comes to the Endsars protests? When you heard about this, what came to mind?
Well, the first time I heard about this, it was, to be honest, I was happy. I was happy. I was happy and sad at the same time. Happy that we now have a generation of young people who are able to just say no to something. Young people who are concerned about social issues in their community. So it was glad to see protests led by young people. But then I was sad because my generation have failed them. This is a problem that my generation should have fixed. Now, because we didn't fix it, my generation didn't protest enough. We didn't do activism enough. Now this generation is having to solve a problem that we could have solved ourselves. So I was happy to see that they're doing something. Sad to also admit that we left them with this problem and now they're having to deal with it.
Well, let's talk about what you mentioned, the past generation. Many have said that they actually protested, maybe not on this level, and also they protested and things were really different then. The social media was not there. So we've had people who had gone to prison because they protested, maybe not on this scale, do you think?
Yes. Well, you're right, but there's something, there are two things that this generation has that we didn't have. These guys, the young people who are protesting now are pan-Nigerian. They're pan-Nigerian. We weren't pan-Nigerian. We were very tribal. So whatever we did was seen from a tribal lens, and the government could use tribe to divide us. Now, don't get me wrong. We've had protests in Nigeria that cut across tribe, but then oftentimes, once we start, the powers that be would just come in and play the tribal card and play the religious card. So beyond the fact that this generation has social media that we didn't have, but this generation is pan-Nigerian. They're not big on religion. They're not big on tribe. They are big on Nigeria, and that's really what I was very happy about. I saw young people not talk the religious language. They didn't talk the tribal language, no ethnic language. They were focused on Nigeria, their nation. So that's what separated this protest from ours. So the government couldn't divide them with religion. The government couldn't divide them with ethnicity. My own generation, we had to struggle with religion and ethnicity. Everything you did, oh well, it's a Christian protest, or it's a Yoruba protest, or it's a Northern protest. But this young people, you're not hearing any of that. So that's a good thing. Very positive.
But actually, it also tried to rear its head the past 1 week or 2 weeks. It started happening by the past generation. I noticed that those who are really championing this to bring this in, they're not the Gen Z. They're not part of the Gen Z. They are part of the millennials. They're part of the past generation. And I noticed that they did not let this work. They fought it. They really fought it to stop it.
Yes, they did. And it's still my own generation that came in and wanted to spoil something that was new, a new wine, a fresh beginning, what would have been a fresh beginning for our nation. And my generation is proficient in speaking the language of tribalism, the language of religion, the language of tribalism. But this generation, they don't talk tribe, they don't talk religion. They're talking is their country, is their welfare. It is reform the police brutality. They're dealing with social issues without mixing it up with religious or tribal perspective. So yes, we must applaud them. It was meant to be. I felt like finally I am going to see the Nigeria that we live for, we protested for, and we fought for. I thought at the beginning of this protest that this was that vision of Nigeria that we all believed will happen in our time. Yes.
You thought, it doesn't mean you've given up on that. Have you given up on that? You thought, go ahead.
I haven't given up on that, but I am simply admitting that there are challenges now. There are challenges now with how it all ended, with what the government did, and with where we are at this moment. So I don't think it's over, but at least we will all agree that it didn't get to it didn't get to the end that it was supposed to get to.
Yeah.
So
I'll butt in for a moment.
Yes.
I'll butt in for a moment and we talk about this later, but I'll ask you, you work with young persons, you hear their stories. Do you have personal stories that you've dealt with when it comes to the issue of police brutality? What have you experienced?
Oh yes, I can't tell you. I wish my personal assistant was invited to this program to corroborate what I'm saying. I can't tell you how many times I've had to go to the police station to bail a young person and when I get there, I'll ask, so I work with a lot of young people. The church that I pastor filled with young people. The NGO that I run, aimed at young people. I can't count the number of times I've been called, my phone rings, and there's a young person in the police station. He's calling me. He's not calling his parents, not calling his dad or mom. He's calling the pastor. And I get there. Why is this guy locked up? Why is he in the cell? Why is he in prison? Why is he locked up? Oh, well, we picked him up on the street. We just saw him on the street. We didn't like his haircut. He has a tattoo on. He's dressed like he's. We don't like how he looked. And so they just bundle all of them and take them to. So many times I've dealt with young people, and I have personally been part of going to negotiate with the police to free a young man who hasn't done anything, and I've had to pay money as well. I've had to pay money to get people out of the police station. Young people, K2, Magodo, Axis, this is a constant. That's a recurring. It happens all the time. In fact, one time I had to bring young people together and began to mentor them about how to avoid this situation. Imagine telling a young man, listen, you're gonna take that haircut down, take your braids out, you can't do this, they're gonna pick you up. Because we got sick and tired of having to go to the police station and do deals to get people out.
I mean, that really hurts, hearing you talk about that, telling someone to change the way they look, just because they might be targeted. It's really hard to hear. I'll quickly say hello to everyone who's joining us from Facebook and Twitter. Hello to you. Those on Facebook and Twitter, I really cannot see you, but I know you're joining in. I have Pablo and Peter and Crazy and Mark. Thank you so much, everyone who's joined in. Then it brings me to the other question of the palliatives. We've seen like the doors of those warehouses opened up all over the country. it was pretty embarrassing. It was pretty embarrassing. How did you feel seeing all of this? Thank you, Alfred, for joining from Mombasa.
Well, for me, I felt really, I took it very personally because in the middle of the pandemic, it was the darkest time for, that's the darkest I've seen our nation. One time we did a giveaway one of those days, and we had a mile queue of people, almost more than a kilometer queue of people coming to the church for just a pack of food, and they were fighting over the food, hunger. It was terrible. Let me be honest. I've been pastoring for more than 10 years. I've never seen such a dark time in our nation. To now watch the television and find warehouses filled with food, locked up in warehouses whilst people were suffering. We were having to package frozen meat to meet people in bus stops. People phone up, okay, meet me at the bus stop. I'll take my team to the bus stop. You meet someone, they'll say, listen, I've got 5 siblings. We haven't eaten for 3 days. We're all scrambling to do the best we can do, goodwill people, and then to watch the television, listen to the radio, and see videos of huge warehouses filled with food. When people were starving and are still starving, I don't care how they try to slice and dice it, it is wrong. It's wrong. It's immoral. The word is, I don't even want to say it's corrupt. The term corruption, I think we're very used to it. I want to say it is immoral. It is against God's moral laws. Very immoral to watch that happen.
But are you really surprised? I mean, we had heard that some parts of Nigeria didn't get that. People were protesting and saying, "Oh, we didn't get anything," and we were surprised to see all of this happening. And that also brings up the issue of people fighting to get what they believe, is rightly theirs. Does this justify the looting of the warehouses? It's sad what you've said to me. I also got calls from people, calling me to say I'm hungry, I can't find food. People had to work hard to support others. We saw the video of that teacher who literally cried. Remember him?
Yeah.
A primary school teacher who was crying. And it hurts really to know that government also saw all of this. I'm hurt. I'm really hurt that people starved, people were hungry, and we had the food, and someone actually came out to say that he kept it for his birthday celebration.
Oh yeah. That's why I said it's immoral. The word I use is very immoral. And you know what? What's getting me very upset? I'm not upset. I hear people have been arrested for stealing food. The word that is used is that they went into the warehouse and they stole food, and there's all this talk about arresting people who stole food. I want to ask the government, what moral right do you have to create the conditions that impoverish people? And when those conditions criminalize, turn them into criminals, what moral justification do you have to accuse them of criminality? I mean, you turn them into criminals. You've made criminals of your citizens, right? You've made it. I mean, there are people that even if they have food, they will steal. But not. There are many people that if they had food to eat, they won't be scrambling or they won't be breaking into warehouses. But it's funny that you create the conditions that turn your citizens into criminals, and then you've not come out to apologize to the nation. The nation and the young people deserve an apology, not arrest. You've not come out to apologize to the nation that food meant for hungry people, was hoarded. And all we're hearing from you is you're arresting people for stealing a portion of rice. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine the arrogance of the leadership? Right? So I would have expected a humble, contrite approach where you apologize. You know what the young people deserve is an apology, not pursuing them to return cartons of Indomie noodles. Well, you didn't want to share it, and they've done to share it. It's now finally been shared, right? You know you didn't want to share it, but they've broken into the warehouses, and finally it's now in the hands of the people that it was supposed to be in their hands anyway. So as far as I'm concerned, what I've seen over the last week is sad, immoral, despicable. I can't even find enough words to describe it.
And talking about those arrests, it also means that lawyers would have to do more work, because there'll be more people with, the police who have been detained, who may not have anyone to help them.
Yeah, it means that even though we protested against police brutality, we're back in police brutality arena, because we know how the cells are. You're going to pick them up for breaking into warehouses and stealing noodles and food and milk and gari and cereal, and then you're going to ship them into the dungeons that you call a police station, and we're back again in police brutality arena. It's almost like a vicious cycle. But as I said before, the nation deserves an apology from our leaders.
Oh, okay. Sorry, my child stepped in. Please, I'm still live. Thank you very much. And that's the life of a mother. Okay, so I'd ask you quickly, what do you think would be the solution to this? What do you think would be the solution to this? What do you think? Should the young people give up now?
Well, I don't think they should give up now, but I think they need to get back to the drawing room and sit down and ask themselves, what do we really want? Do we want some short-term appeasement? What this nation needs today is not some little short-term appeasement. The nation needs a long-term, very deep, very profound reformation. And I think the young people should get back and sit down and decide, come out with a vision of the nation that they want and demand it.
But they've demanded it. They've demanded it and they got shot at. They got arrested. What else do you think? What do you think is the way forward for them? Some have said, re-strategize, have your own political party. We've seen, and we've even seen people who are already out to campaign for themselves, to say, I'll be running for office when this finally happens in 2023. What do you think? They've protested. They were shot at.
Well, the reality is that if what you've asked hasn't happened, then you got to keep protesting. And to be honest with you, look at every other protest in the world. If you're not ready to pay the ultimate price for what you want, then you're not going to get what you want. I'm sorry to say that. Do you believe in this vision enough to give up anything for it? And I'm actually sad. I'm saying this to a generation. I've got a daughter. My daughter, even though she was in London at the time, was part of saying something about this. It's sad that here I am telling the young people, your protest must go on. You might find a different way of doing it. You might learn from what's happened in the past. But you have to keep protesting until what you want is done. But learn from the past. You've got to learn from what should we have done? What should they have done differently? So you're going to learn from. And again, there must be a way to translate this rage into a political phenomenon. We're angry. Well, your anger won't do anything. Go get your PVC, get your voters card. The same organizational skills that you use to get this protest done, you need to tap into those same skills and begin to formulate a political framework that can deliver what you want. So first thing is to come together, go get your PVC, begin to make some serious demands about, let me say this very quickly. We will normally call them youth leaders. Youth leaders. The first thing I'll ask the young people to ask for is they need to tell us to stop calling them youth leaders. When we say youth leaders, there's a bit of they're young youth people. They're not significant. No, they're not youth leaders. These are leaders. How old was Gowon when he became a leader? How old was Babangida when he became a leader? How old was Nnamdi Azikiwe when he became a leader? Most of these leaders were leaders at 26. How old was speakers of the Senate? Some of them were Amechi was minister or something or speaker of the house at 33 years old. So the youth should demand that we stop calling them youth leaders, right? Because it's almost derogatory in a sense. Like it's youth leader. No, they're not youth leaders. This country belongs to them, right? This is their country. They're not youth leaders like youth leaders. So number one, you're not a youth leader. You're a leader. You are a leader. You're a leader. And number two, come together, get a political framework, go get your PVCs, and demand a fundamental change, not just crumbs on the table. Yes, Endsars, they need to reform the police, but this country needs to be reformed.
I mean, that's what everybody is wishing for. That's what those in the diaspora are protesting. I think you're the ones who are now doing the protest on the ground, because it seems that Nigeria is not ready for people protesting on the ground. They don't want them in the streets. You saw what happened. The thugs were sent out. People were stabbed. People were, harmed just because they were protesting. It reminds me of what's happening in Thailand now. They've been protesting for over 1 year, almost 1 year, every day.
True.
And no one has been killed. It's not brutal like in Nigeria, Do you see this issue, as an African problem? Do you think it's an African problem?
Oh yeah, yes. I think it's an African problem because down here we don't have value for life. There's no, I live in England as well, so I live in both countries, and I know every time I step into Nigeria, I feel that my life, the value of my life has come down a bit. When I step into England, and I'm sorry I have to say this, I live in both countries. I step into England today, suddenly I feel like, my life has a bit of value, right? But once I fly from Heathrow to Lagos, I suddenly begin to feel that my life, the value of my life has suddenly diminished. And it is true. We Africans, we don't put value on the Nigerian. How much is the Nigerian life worth? Has anybody ever sat down to sit down and say, the average Nigerian life, how much is it worth? Is it worth ₦1 million or 100 naira? Is it worth 2 million naira or the cost of a bullet? So that's an African problem. And it stems from the fact that we don't respect the human life. We don't respect human life. Beating people up, beating young people, beating them up and terror. We don't respect human life. So yes, I agree with you. It's not a Nigerian problem.
I'd like to argue that, I mean, we as humans respect human life, but I think the leadership, it should be the leadership, not like, so we don't confuse people. Africans, we respect, we have value for human life, but probably our leadership, the brutal ones who do not care, we should be referring to them, in your opinion.
Absolutely. But again, remember, this distinction between leadership and everybody else doesn't hold for me. The leadership comes from the people. Our leadership is a reflection of us. There's this whole thing about the leaders. Who's leading Nigeria today? Who's from Cameroon? Is there anybody leading Nigeria today that's from Cameroon or from Niger Republic or from no? These leaders are us. They're us. This is what we see in leadership is really a reflection of us. If it's, and that's why if we say they're not a reflection of us, then we need to do something about it, right? Because there's always how many times have you heard someone say the leaders, and then when they become a leader, they're doing the same thing. We need to look at ourselves. I don't want to constantly point a finger on leadership, and I know leadership needs to be held responsible and accountable, but I think responsibility and accountability must begin from the average Nigerian on the street. Before you get to Abuja, well, a lot of things go wrong on our streets before we get to the National Assembly. So yes, the leadership must be held accountable, but I think every Nigerian as well, me included, I'm a pastor of the church. I'm a leader as well. I may not be a political leader, but I'm a community leader. What's going on in my community? But you're right. At least the leadership should take a bit more responsibility.
Talking about responsibility and religion, we saw a lot of preachers, pastors, and coming out to support the protest, and we also heard the young people say we're going to judge any major preacher who doesn't come out to support us. Do you think at that point there should have been a line drawn? Because I mean, we've seen preachers who have interfered or who have said things when it comes to during elections, and they're saying, "Oh, now you're shutting up. You need to talk now. It's not just during elections. You need to talk now. You need to speak out for young people."
Yeah, I totally agree. I wrote a piece the other day called "Speaking Truth to Power," and if you go through the scriptures, you find scriptural precedents for ministers or pastors to be able to speak truth to power. John the Baptist looked at Herod and rebuked Herod for a moral problem. Jesus looked at the same Herod and called Herod a fox. If you remember Nathan, the prophet, spoke directly to David. David was going rogue. Remember David, Uriah, killing Uriah, taking Uriah's wife. And Nathan, the prophet, marched down to the palace and confronted David. So we've got enough scriptural precedents for men of God to stand up and speak truth to power. Now, beyond just our responsibility to speak truth to power, remember that when the chiefs are down, the last resort, people say the judiciary is the last
Absolutely,
resort
I can hear you. Go ahead.
Common man. That's not true. The church, the last resort of the common man is not the judiciary, because even the judiciary, you need resources to get justice. You need resources. You got to hire a lawyer, right? You got to hire a lawyer. You got to get a legal assistant. That's not cheap. So judiciary is not the last resort of the common man. The last resort of the common man is the church. So
in Africa.
Yes.
In Africa.
In Africa.
Because we learned that over the years because of the failed government.
Absolutely.
People have learned to only depend on God.
Yeah.
But I've heard people who say, I believe in the government. I don't believe in God. I don't believe in Jesus. I don't believe in any other religion. I just believe in my government. But you think people are embracing because they have no option. They have no hope. They have to hold on to something, anything tangible at all.
Yeah, absolutely. And so when the community is completely shattered, it is the church. People walk in the church, money, food, this and that, emotional support,
and the mosque as well.
I don't think any pastor needs to be pressurized to speak out. We have to speak out because we're the last shelter for these people. And so I'll be upset if men of God, ministers of the church don't stand up, either speak to the government or encourage the young people. But we really do have a big part to play. We can't keep quiet. We can't keep silent at this time.
So finally, before I let you go, so finally, could you speak more on the strategy you think the young people should take on going forward to ensure that their voices are heard, and the role of the diaspora, the role of other African, and we really haven't heard much from the African Union. Are you very disappointed?
Yes. We haven't heard much from the African Union, but I'm not surprised anyway. If you've got rulers who these rulers are almost the same anyway. So leave the African Union. The young people protesting. I wanna let them know that peaceful protest is your legal right. Protesting for the good of your country, demanding that your country be ruled properly. Don't feel guilty about it. You've not done anything wrong. Let me say that again. So the first thing is to understand that what you've done or what you're doing, peaceful protest, do it peacefully. You're doing the right thing. So at least let us think. If you die doing it, you die for a right cause. So you're doing the right thing. But the thing is that even though you're doing the right thing, you don't have a strategy. You don't have some short-term expectation, medium-term expectation, and long-term expectation. So you need to sit down, work out what your medium-term, what your short-term expectation is, what your medium-term expectation is, and where you're going ultimately with this. Number two is that you need to become a political force. These folks will never ever listen to you until they start seeing you as a political force. How do you become a political force? Come together. The same unity that brought you together to do a protest, come together and get a political group together. Go get your PVCs. Get ready to vote in 2023. And then the people in diaspora, the folks in diaspora, then continue to support, speak to the countries where you're residing and ask those countries to hold our own leaders accountable, because we live in a global world right now, right? So let the leadership of those nations where you are at also put pressure on our nation. But again, peaceful protest, keep the protest peaceful, no looting. For instance, at this moment now, people are thinking, wow, all this looting going on, you might lose the goodwill of the people, and we know you weren't the ones who did the looting. You were protesting peacefully, but we need to keep the protest peaceful. Keep it peaceful. Come out with a strategy. Get your short-term goals, medium-term goals, and your long-term goals, and be patient. Be patient. Rome wasn't built in a day. So, I know the young people can be very
It's
patient.
taking 60 years now. It's actually taking 60 years for Nigeria to be built.
Oh yes, it has. But this what's going on now is a new thing. What they're doing now is a new thing, and they need to have stamina. You have to have staying power. You're not gonna people are not just gonna give you what you want. You're gonna have staying power, right? You're gonna come through some issues, overcome them, have staying power. Be patient, but be persistent. You're gonna be patient but persistent.
You talked about dying for the cause. That's hard to hear. I mean, we've lost a lot of soldiers, as we call them, soldiers to the past 1 month or less than 1 month. Dying for the cause is hard, very hard to hear that people would die because they are protesting. I'll quickly run through those who have commented. Angela Eze, thank you very much for your comments. Yeah, the brutality began in England. We're too rich for this. How far back do we go? And we must get them out. Exactly. Angela, thank you. Alfred, thank you very much. And I have someone else who's joined us from Thailand. We mentioned Thailand earlier, where the protests have been, going on for months and months, and they're keeping at it. They're protesting, but as we said, the climate here is really different. It's totally different for people in Nigeria. I'll thank you very much for joining me, Emmanuel Okonkwo. I wish you the best as you work with young people in K2, in Magodo area. It's tough. It's tougher now, is it?
Yeah, it's extremely. You know, if their poverty level was 60 percentage point, is now 120. So, you know, but we're in the community helping, supporting. Yeah, but you know, we're doing what we need to do. The foundation that I run, doing our best. The church that I pastor, doing our best. But we will overcome. You know, we will overcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone who joined in on Facebook and Twitter and maybe on YouTube. Thank you so much for your time. Please get this crap off. Read it. I think that's the wrong message. Bob, I don't know. Thank you very much, everyone. See you next time. Bye-bye.
See you later.